All right, so the last lecture on the walk, we blocked out our animation. And this is what it looks like. It's nice and blocked out. And right now I have the main controller muted right here on translation Z, so the character doesn't move forward or anything. I'm gonna unmute that. Now my character actually walks forward. So now here comes the tricky part. So what we need to do in this next phase is obviously we need to stick in the spline. But when we stick in the spline, we're going to need this main controller in our graph editor to actually go F. So right now it's like a little staircase, and those speeds different, the distance difference. So what we're going to do is we need this to go one linear line all the way down to here, which is this is going to move in one sleek pattern or one movement. But we're still going to have to go back and adjust our feet so they don't slide as well. So first things first, you want to grab just the feet in the main controller, the feet controller in the main controller to start off with. Press F, select all the controllers. So we're going to take this to clamp. We're going to clamp this instead of spline. Let's do clamp, which is this, that's plateau, sorry. Clamp this right here. You're going to use this one. The reason I'm going to use clamp is because it helps keep some of the Y translation. Oops, if I get it right here. It keeps the Y translation, some of that stuff right here, it keeps it straight. It doesn't have the extra curve in and curve out, the ease in and ease out of the controllers. That's just going to help just a little bit. You're still going to see a little bit of blockiness. So then we're going to go to the rest of the controllers, which would be the knees, your waist controller, and we're going to go ahead, select all those, or press F, select all those, and put those into spline, which is right here. Now those we obviously want to continue to have the nice curves and everything because they're not touching or hitting anything, so they're going to have that nice little linear movement. So now what we need to do is we need to actually go in and start analyzing where our feet are going to start sliding and stuff. So the first thing we want to do is grab our main controller, go to Z because that's what it's translating, and see how this curve goes this way and it curves here and there. We want this to delete all the keys in the middle because we want this to actually just go straight. It's like that, one linear movement. What that's going to do, it's going to make that speed a constant speed. And when you're doing walk cycles for games, the constant speed is somewhat what you want to go for. But now you'll notice that the feet slide tremendously. And one thing you're going to have to do is the same thing we did earlier when we had the blocking, is to get those feet to stay in one spot. Basically, you're going to go into the side view. Basically since this foot's one that's coming down, I'll use the heel of that foot to be my guide. And then this time, instead of moving the platform, you're going to be much more or less moving the feet. So because you want to keep the feet still. So at frame 0, I'm going to use the heel. The heel is right here, and then at frame 5, the heel's back there. So I'm just going to move that, hit this, and you get this nice movement right there. So one of the things we'll come back to, like you're going to keep doing this for all. And one thing, like from here, I have to start using the toe because this comes up. Push this back, and you're gonna have to start adjusting things. Like you notice the leg starts hyperextending. So now I'm gonna have to sort of push this up so it doesn't hyperextend, and add a little bit more rotation so that toe. Oops. So that toe can sort of hit the correct spot. Let's see if I can get everything to match up properly here. This is a back and forth things you got to do, and sometimes you'll see that, oh well, now I need to rotate even sooner to make sure my my controller back here doesn't hyperextend my leg. And right off the back, it's not going to completely match up just yet. There's more to it that has to happen. But basically what I'm doing, I'm just eyeballing it. You know, just simply eyeballing it. And this does change a little bit of what your animations are going to end up looking like. This is just because now that's that first foot, but this is just because I'm trying to get the feet not to slide. So the other thing is now this pose right here needs to stay. So this is going to be a little bit different because when this foot lands, I'm not going to use this position to get the very beginning pose. I'm actually going to use this toe position because this end pose at 40, frame 40 is actually the same at frame 0. So I got to keep this pose the same so that my feet will always feel like they're contacting. So what I'm going to do now is at frame 40, I'm going to basically put a marker at this point, go to frame 35, and sort of work backwards. So now roughly I got it to where now this controller, let me say this as something real quick. Oops. So now this is just for the side view. I haven't looked at the front view yet, and there's probably some things I could do for the front view. Now this is just a basic walk, and now my feet are, they're semi there. They're almost there, and now I need to go in and probably do some real nitpicking to get my feet to act exactly where I want them to go. So the thing is now is where I got my waist, I can actually use that to my advantage to say, well, when this foot starts to stretch out here, it comes down. If I want it to feel like it's more stretching, I can pull it back this way, or I can push it forward more. Either or to sort of help you get your feet to where they need to go. And the feet are barely sliding. Now to go in is to really fine tune it. I want to use this leg right here. So basically on this spot right in here, I need this foot to sort of stay still. Go to make sure it is my Z that's going forward. So press F. So one thing I want to do with my curves is I want to make sure that when my foot hits the ground all the way through until it comes up, I'm not going to move the curves, but I'm going to select all the curves right here and make sure I put a linear tangent. And then this, not necessarily this side, but this is the side right here where the foot hits. I'm going to select this tangent right here and click linear tangent as well. So what this is going to do is once that foot hits, it's going to help it align and stay almost on the same course as this is going right here. Because this is going one straight linear pattern. And once this hits, and if it goes on that same linear pattern, it's going to help minimize the movement in the feet. And to go even further, I can actually delete all these keys. And one thing I'll have to do is just match the distance, or the distance from here. But for now, I'm just going to leave those keys on. Let me get to a side view here. Yeah, the reason I want to leave those keys on is because of the rotation that I'm doing. Like right in here, actually affects the movement. So unless I was using this platform not to rotate at all, like if it was going to stay flat the whole time, I could put that tangent at linear. But since it's rotating, it's also helping to move it, to keep it in place. So I need to keep these keys there, but just on linear, to keep those keys there, to keep that foot somewhat still. Then I'll probably on the, what was that? You know, you can do that. It's pretty cool. But on the up and down, when my foot hits basically down right here, you see how it sort of goes down? I can either make both my controllers equal to that one. Just shifting down, make sure it's flat and even. So now it sort of stays. And then there's also movement on the front of my character, which I haven't paid much attention to at all. So that's something that I wasn't really requiring. It's doing more of the side view. So if you notice, my walk is sort of slow. I'm like really, that's really basic looking. That's because I just want to get the fundamentals, just making a basic walk cycle. And this is basically a basic walk cycle. But yeah, that's the steps of taking it out of blocking, put it into spline, and going through and making sure each of your feet and everything else are smoothed out. So now the next few things you need to work on is you need to like basically track your legs and make sure you watch out for like this leg right here. It extends and then it sort of pops. It makes it look like it sort of does that little pop. Several ways to get rid of that is to introduce the rotation, either more or less in the knee, or even a dip. Be careful on the dips because of the Euler filter, but those are some of the things that you'll sort of need to utilize to get those little pops out of the knees. You're going to sort of encounter them here, and when you start to take your step out this way. And the way to sort of fix some of those is you can dip the character down, you can rotate a little bit so there's a slight bend in the knee, and then you probably have to add more keys within to sort of straighten it out when you need to. But that's a back and forth thing that you'll need to do while animating. Not easy, but it's something you have to just keep playing with until you sort of find that sweet spot where that knee doesn't bend, that leg is sort of like how you want it to be. I could just take the rotation down on this. So that's the way to do the basic walk cycle. So take your project to that level, and then continue to polish it. You know, add some flavor to it. But get it to this point, and this will get you the basic understanding of how to make a walk cycle, how to make the walk cycle, and how to make the walk move forward and stay in place and things like that. You can fine tune it. If you want to start tweaking things that's not going to affect the foot placement or the movement of it, you can always select your main controller at the bottom and just mute translation Z. Go to mute selected. So it stays in place, and that way you can sit there and you can sort of tweak out, you know, all the little nuances that you want to do to sort of try to make it work without having to try to keep it tracking across screen. All right, so that's it for now. If any questions, I'll see you guys in class. Just give me a ring, shoot me an email. Other than that, all right, have a good one.